Welcome back, folks. Thank you for joining us for another soul-driven interview. I'm so excited for today's show and so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Please welcome me in welcoming Lauren Lanzaretta, singer, songwriter, musician, and producer from Cleveland, Ohio. What's up, Lauren?
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much. I'm truly honored that you chose to have me on your show. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. The honor is mine. So, a little bit of background in regards to where this discussion came from. Lauren and I have been Facebook friends for a couple of years. We have a similar acquaintance. And my friend had shared with me about Lauren's background in regards to being a Christian gay singer. And it was always so interesting to me because, of course, my upbringing, as you well know, I grew up in a very strict Christian family. And I always wanted to talk with Lauren. I always felt like there was such an incredible story here to know more about, to talk about. And I felt like in the midst of this being June and Pride Month, that it would be the perfect time to reach out to her. So I reached out with a big ask, which was to see if she would be open to coming on the show and sharing her story, something that she's never fully done on a public platform before outside of her own little personal platforms. But she was kind and courageous enough to do so. So again, thank you so much for being here, Lauren, sharing your heart, transparency, all of the things. I am very excited to learn more about your story, about your journey, and just share that with my listeners. So thank you again.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited. There's always a risk, but I feel like I'm at the point in my life where I just really want to continue on this path of like authenticity and just be able to use all the things I've gone through to help other people. So if I can help, just relate to somebody or um, just, you know, tell a good story, inspire someone, then it's more than worth it. So I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, like in our conversation, our like messaging back and forth, you
Yeah.
shared, that the LGBTQ community deserves to have a relationship with their creator and should feel comfortable pursuing that. And for me, that was always something that really broke my heart growing up, in the Christian church, something, of course, I never agreed with because it was just like,
Yeah.
what? You know,
Right.
um, how could we ever like look down or demonize someone for who they love? That just never made sense to me whatsoever. And so much of, especially today's youth, whether it is the transgender community, just anyone within the community, I mean, there's so much polarization around that, so much I think misunderstanding, I think just a number of things, but I certainly want to use this platform to help educate people. And I think
Right.
it is so important that they have the access, that everyone has access and knows that they have access to God, creator, however it is that they choose to connect with their spiritual selves. It's just
Right.
so, so important. Um, so I want to kind of start where I always start with my guests and ask you what makes you soul driven.
Oh, man. Just, my life has been such a journey. And there's so much of leading from my soul. I mean, I am so driven by my purpose. And I know that all the things I've been through in my life um, have happened for a specific reason. And, I'm 42 now. I'm at the point in my life where I'm even still becoming who I am, evolving. And it's just like, it's a soul driven journey of becoming my truest and most authentic self. And I'm really led by my relationship with God. I never, let go of that. And I do funnel everything through that. And it is, it, it's deepening my soul and So I'm just trying to like really just now reach out to people, touch people, and tell them a little bit more about my journey.
Yeah, I love that. Kind of as you were talking, I was seeing this like, being driven and like this journey of kind of stepping into that soul path, right? Figuring
Right,
that out, going through difficulties, going through life stuff, going through good stuff too, right? But like
right,
all of that kind of happening as in the midst of creating that soul path for yourself. So you're a musician, right? Of course.
right, right,
And such a, I mean, again, it was so cool for me to hear, like, oh my gosh, this gay Christian musician, like, this is not something I have ever heard before. And I feel like
right,
not, very prevalent whatsoever in regards to at least folks sharing that in publicly.
right,
I'm sure plenty don't share their story and just kind of stay quiet.
right.
But I'd love to know a little bit about your background, in regards to kind of how you grew up. You're from Cleveland, Ohio. Did you always know that you were gay? Is this something that you were always aware of and comfortable with, or?
No, so that's kind of like, you know, and we were talking a little bit about like, experiences really make you who you are. And, there's a lot of different thoughts about surrounding like, when do you know, or like, what made, are you born like that or whatever. And everyone's different, everyone can choose their own answer. And I think for me, like, I did grow up in a Christian home. And I wasn't always like just attracted to women. When I was younger, I did the normal, societal thing, had boyfriends, did the expected, but I never really felt like any of those feelings until probably like high school. So growing up, everything was fine. It was like I never really struggled with that. Um, but there was a lot of different struggles when I started having those type of feelings, because I was like, it just sort of just split me right down the center of my life. And it was like the guilt and shame and like, going to church and hearing things the preacher was preaching. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why is this happening to me? Like, why do I feel like this? And I going to go to hell? Am I going to, why would God make me like this if it was so bad? And, all these questions, and really just hiding all that and not being able to like, I think straight people are able to like live their relationships out, like go through heartbreak publicly, have the support of their parents. You'll get, you'll just find somebody else, or here's honey, like let's eat some ice cream together, and you'll get through it. And I feel like for a lot of like LGBTQ people, it's, you have to deal with those heartbreaks and those struggles in private and in your own, crying at night and trying to figure out just how to get through it. So I think, especially back when I was growing up, there was a lack of just understanding in general. I think it's a lot better now, but so yeah, I think that was sort of my growing up experience. I think it was great. Like I had a great childhood. I have wonderful, amazing parents. But I think it's always a challenge when you have such a strong faith and then you start to feel something that is, you're told your whole entire life is wrong, so you're like, oh shit, like how do I navigate this?
Yeah, no, that's really intense. I mean, it's hard enough to become like a teenager regardless.
Right, right, for sure.
And then when your faith and even your conditioning, I'm sure, is like starting to tell you that who you are is wrong.
Right,
That's, I mean, that just adds so much.
right.
Do you think it was maybe because like as you were younger, you just didn't know yourself as much, and when you were getting older, you were like starting to fully connect with yourself, and that was when things started becoming clear for you?
I think that for me, and like I said, the experience is different for everyone.
Yeah.
I became who I am through, just like we become like any other characteristic, I think, in how we evolve in our lives. I just think like, I just felt like I had a lot of uncomfortable situations with guy friends that I trusted, you know what I mean? And time and time and time again, it was sort of like, if you keep eating an apple and it tastes like shit, after a while you're gonna be like, I don't like apples anymore. And not only that, but just like the dynamic of my parenting, my mom was very much, I always felt like, because, I had to, kind of like, I was always reaching for that approval, and it was like those things combined, and just having like bad experiences, which I've worked through. I definitely have a way more healthy outlook on, um, just like what happened to me in my life. And not that it wasn't anything like super, super traumatic, but it was like, my trauma is real and it's what made me who I was. And I think like I started learning what was safe for me and what felt right for me. And that's kind of like, I think, it just came through my story. Um, I don't know. I think I like being able to just talk about those things, because I think a lot of people don't want to say like, oh, well, this made me gay, and that it's like, oh, I just am. And I don't know 100%. Like, it could be just the societal norms, that I kind of fell into, but these are the things I think about, and these are the things I try to explore within myself and try to be honest about, like, how did that affect me? How did this affect me? How did that change the way I think or see people or this certain group? Um, and what was my response to those things in my life, and how did I change from it? So I just like to sort of explore those type of conversations with myself.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I think that, I mean, I have known throughout my life, I have gotten to know so many different gay people and hear their stories. And it was always something that I was curious about, and wanted to know more about, because of course that hasn't been my path. And so I have just felt like,
Yeah.
curious about it, but then also like, I felt like it's important for me to understand, because like, I like knowing people's stories anyway. I know that
Yeah.
I like understanding what makes people tick, or what is unique or different about them, or um I think that's always fascinating, but I haven't ever heard anyone share their story in that way, and or kind of share it so openly in regards to thinking about, the things that did happen in life that may have affected one thing or another.
I
It's
mean,
always, go ahead.
we think about, every other, right, when we go to therapy, and we think about, why we do certain things. I think we think about those things. So like, I feel like it's fair to think about everything. Like, how did I get here? Who am I? Why am I who I am? So like, all across the board, I think it's important to explore those when you start becoming conscious, and saying like, how, just like becoming aware of really your childhood, your past, and how you grew, and why you think the way you think. So
Yeah, I think it's powerful, very powerful.
yeah.
I feel like most people don't put that time and energy into it. And I
Right.
feel like too, like, society doesn't help either, because of course society as a whole is like, well, no, 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 you need to have a reason, or you need to, like, this either needs to be this or that, or you know what I mean? Like, they want to put
Yeah.
it in a box, or like, and
Yeah.
if it's not in a box, then like it's not valid, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, it doesn't freaking matter. It's that
Well,
person's choice. It's your choice. It's my choice. Like, it doesn't, what is that? The beautiful Australian girl who just came out as she's now dating women. Do you know who I'm talking about?
yeah, the actress.
She's a comedic
Comedian.
actress.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And there's all this discussion to be like, oh my gosh, well, was she gay before? Or was she gay now? Or like, what happened? It's like, this isn't really, like she can make whatever decision she wants. And
Yeah,
maybe she just fell in love with this person who cares, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But I
right.
feel like there is all this pressure. So I just love that you share that in regards to being so open and um, pondering those things, I guess I would
Yeah,
say. So I'm curious to know, of course, what role that Christianity played in kind of like defining how you felt, about being gay.
sure. Yeah, like I mentioned, I mean, I think once I started to sort of become aware of my feelings, um, it was very divisive for me. I was looking at things so black and white, and when you and a lot of people in the Christian community do look at things with Christianity very black and white. Well, this is wrong, this is right. And, I think it was such a long journey for me, right, to even understand that God wasn't mad at me and that his love was like this, like unending. There's nothing I could ever do, right, that will take, and that's in the Bible, that will take the love of God away from us. Um, so I had to start approaching my perspective on myself with that. Okay, we know God loves you. He is your father. He is your advocate. He is like your number one fan. So how do you live your life? And it's like I started thinking about it because I was so negative. I would cry and say, I'm like, I had suicidal thoughts. I was like, why am I here? This is, if I'm going to like, if my life is going to be just like a sin or whatever, why even like live? There was a lot of those type of thoughts. And it took me a while to just have this perspective that like it's a journey. God is patient. He is like, think of the kindest person you've ever met, right? The kindest person you've ever met in your life who just is like so kind. And that is God times a trillion. And so I just kind of had to like say, like, God, I'm going to walk this journey. Like, you know me, you have woven me, you know every hair on my head, like, you know why I think the thoughts I think, you know my psychology, um, who I was raised by, my like family history, like every single thing. Um, eh, he created me and like he has a purpose for me. And so I'm like, I'm gonna just look at it like that. And but it was like a long journey, it was overcoming a lot of negativity, a lot of self-hate. Even to this day, it's like I really do struggle with that thought, like, there's so much to overcome, like through the church and through people, people commenting on Facebook and just having these narrow-minded, you know, thought processes that they cannot think about another person's like journey or have compassion. And so that's kind of, hopefully that answered your question. I think I went on a tangent, but yeah, so
No, I mean, I don't think I would imagine it's an ever evolving answer, right? Depending upon your age and where you're at in life. And
right,
I'm sure 5, 10 years from now, it's going to be very different from what it is right now.
absolutely.
Um, but yeah, I can't even, like, as you're talking, I just am thinking about, because I feel like on my own growing up in the church, and
Yeah,
thankfully I had a very personal relationship with God, which I feel like a lot of people didn't. And so
yeah,
I didn't struggle as much personally with like questions of, does God love me or does God accept me? But that was still there, even
Yeah.
still, you know? And I feel like that's like kind of part of being a human, right? And part of what we're doing on this planet is reconnecting with that God that, you know, and then the God within us. But reconnecting to our spirituality. So I can't even imagine this additional, again, component of like, that's always the thing that has really blown my mind is like when people say that someone who's gay is wrong, it's like they're saying the person is wrong.
Right.
And that's just such a huge statement to me. I don't know, I don't know what to do with that statement.
Mhm.
Um, so I assume that this was like an ever evolving thing for you. When was it that you kind of reached this place, like around what age or like, you know, what part of your life when you kind of reached a place where you were able to be more comfortable with it? Because I would imagine like, I mean, it took a lot of self-confidence and faith to get to a place where you know, were more comfortable with it and feeling better about yourself with it.
Yeah. I think probably the first like striking moment that I was like, God was like really answering me. It was like I actually went to Thailand when I was like 26 years old. I went with a group of people and we stayed in this orphanage with just like, you know, getting to know the kids and helping out or whatever. And there was this man, this missionary, his name was Charles. And, you know, he had this sense, like just this, you could just feel this man. Um, he was a like prophet, like a prophet, you know, just his spirit, the way he looked at you, like he knew. And he pulled me aside and he said, you know, I'd like to talk to you later. And that was the first time in my life that I had told anyone when I was 27, what I was struggling with and how I felt. And he led with such compassion and love. And that was really the first time I understood God's like infinite love for me, coming into this world, being born. And, you know, he gave me these illustrations. And one of them was the day you were born, you know, and this is definitely a very Christian specific thing, but God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, were waiting for eternity for you to be born. And the day you finally came, like there was this big celebration and they were just so excited that you were here, and they were there in the room when you were there born. And they just been so excited to like have you exist. And it's just like this, we were waiting for you, like God is waiting for you. And you're so important, you're here with such a purpose, like generations, right? Like it's almost like the chances are almost zero of existing. Like if you go back in your genealogy, like this person had to meet this person and they had a baby, and then they met this person and had a baby, and throughout from the beginning of time to now, and you being born, it's like there's 0% chance. You're here for a reason. And I just like at that time in Thailand, it was such a spirituality where it just became so clear to me, that everything happens for a reason. I didn't go through all this stuff because I'm hated or because like it was from a place of purpose, and it was soul driven, you know. And so that's really when my mind changed and I started looking at things, and doing meditations and becoming more connected in my relationship with God and my confidence in that. So I think that's when,
That's awesome.
yeah.
It's always cool when someone has a story of like meeting an angel or a prophet or like, you know, the defining
Yeah,
person in your life who says like, you
100%.
are okay, whoever you are. You know what I mean? Like,
It was definitely one of those amazing moments that this man made such a difference in my life. Um, so yeah, it was crazy.
so when did you like come out of the closet? When did you decide to say like, okay, this is who I am?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with your family or your friends or like however that happened for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think like I had always had like one foot in, one foot out, because, you know, I was never confident like in just saying like I'm gay and hey, I'm just gonna like come out here, and I just always felt a little uneasy about it. But you know, when I was 35, I got into a relationship that was, you know, out. We were very much, you know, open and honest about it. And I feel like that's really when I was like, you know, I don't want to lie about who I am or what I'm experiencing, you know. And it wasn't so much coming out, it was like, I'm not going to lie to you. It's that simple. Like, here's where I'm at in my life. Here's what I've experienced. Why would I lie about it? Right? Just be honest about it. Hey, I'm evolving. This is where I'm at. And I'm this person is means a lot to me. And like, I'm not gonna like hide her either and like force her to like live a lie. Um, so it was really like when I started caring about somebody else and their whole, you know, soul was, you know, and existence and who they were was became important to me, that I really was able to like look in the mirror and say like, yeah, like it's important for you to not lie to people and continue this journey of like becoming your most authentic self. So
Yeah. It's always interesting how other people often end up being the ones to help us like step out in different situations in our life.
yeah.
Um, so I'm really curious about, you know, like you obviously are a singer, you're a musician, these sorts of things. Like, how was this for you? Like, were you always a singer? Did you utilize your singing and your songwriting and those sorts of things to like really work through a lot of the emotions about this? Or like, what role did music play in all of this for you, you know, in the midst of this journey?
Whew. So the first song I ever wrote was I was in seventh grade, and I didn't have any training, you know, no one in my family is musicians, no one sings. I sat down at the piano and I wrote this song, um, played it and wrote it and sang it. And it was like a gospel song. And this big soulful voice came out. Um, and it kind of went like, and I will glorify the Lord, who is worthy to receive my praise. And I'm gonna lift up my hands to you, Lord. So that was the first song I ever wrote. And I was in seventh grade. I'm like, where did that come from? You know, where did that voice come from? And those words, like, all you children of the Lord, you have to stand by him all the days of your life. And it's funny, you know, as I look back, like I have, like, I never gave up. And I know that God is so pleased with me because I never gave up um, that relationship and that journey. And so it was so important. And I was able to, like, in my music now, like my most recent album, you know, I was doing some pop stuff and kind of exploring who I was as an artist. You know, Amy Winehouse was very inspiring to me. So I was kind of doing that like poppy soul style. But then, you know, my most recent album, Deliverance, I sort of returned back to that like seventh grade girl. And I sat at piano, and most of the songs on that album are like me and piano and like a big choir in the background. And um, those songs are very much to God about my struggle. And they're, you know, my heart, like, and it's not all fun. It's not like, God, everything's great. I worship you. You're the best. It's like, why do I have to go through all this? Like, one of the songs is called Burden. Um, one of the songs is called Calm the Storm, about just people saying I changed, or like, oh, she's not who she should be. She's not who she is. Is this really who you are? Like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And it's like, so a lot of in my album, it's like those, I drew from all those like solemn and, heartbreaking experiences. And it was really like a call to God, to like, just a conversation, just like, I'm gonna get real with you, like, this isn't cool. Like, where were you? Or, so yeah, so
I think
hopefully.
that's such an important step for the relationship that we have, with God or whomever we like, whatever source, universe, whatever, I think being really honest about where we're at and being
Yeah,
able to say like, what the heck? Like, why is this so hard? And having those conversations. And I feel like that's what people really can identify with so strongly. So did
yeah.
you like no one in your family had any sort of singing background? Like, did you just know how to play the piano? Did you just like, or had you learned, or um like kind of how did this come about for you? Was this
Yeah, I played,
inspired?
right, like, I played mostly by ear. I did take some lessons, but like only for a few years. But like, even now I play by ear. Like, all the songs I write are just like sort of whatever I come up with on the keyboard. So I don't know what I'm playing. Like, I don't know I'm not like classically trained or whatever.
That's incredible. And let's see, I had asked you this kind of before we started recording, but like, what is the genre of music that you would put your music in? It's always such a difficult question. My father and I
Yeah.
are always like, how do you like,
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
so I do different music, right? So, I mean, I would say Deliverance, the album, is a spiritual, soulful album with like a hint of gospel. That's what I like to say. My last album, Naked Soul, was like more of a soulful pop album, um, with like live instrumentation, horns, and it was very much like upbeat and fun. But I've done also like house music, like house remix type stuff, dancey stuff. I really enjoy doing stuff like that because it kind of like lets me be this like other person who's like not
Yeah.
sad or whatever. I can really just like, have fun with that type of music. But yeah, I think the it's soul, soulful, not soul like, I wouldn't say like I'm a soul artist, but I would say like from my soul, and I have a lot of control in my voice, so it's more soulful for sure.
Yeah, you definitely have a soulful voice. Like that should not be a question to anyone who hears it. So I guess because like, you are a Christian, you have this relationship with God. I would
Yeah.
assume that a lot of people, and even myself included, prior to our conversation, would have put your music in the Christian music, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
industry, whatever. Like, have you, because of that, I don't know if that has been other people's assumptions or impressions. Have you like dealt with difficulties because of that, or like pushback because of that? Has that like, um, you know, uh, I don't know, have people really been confused? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I really don't think so. And I think that, like, for the most part, the shows that I've done have been in like music venues, bars. Like, I don't perform at church. Um, but I do perform like, for instance, like, I had a show at a bar and I was singing my songs, and they're very much spiritual, and they sing about God, and people at the bar were like, this is what I needed. And I said, can I pray over you guys? Like, let me pray right now. And they're like, we want you to pray, like, pray over, and so I said a prayer at midnight, in a bar when everyone was drinking. And that's what I love. I don't want to be like, a lot of people in the LGBTQ community, like, they're not given roles in church that, oh, we want you to, like, for me included, I've experienced this. Well, you can't lead worship because you're gay. Like, we can't, but you can like hold a sign in the back. We just don't want you to be like up front. And, I think like, I don't like that because I think everyone is just a person and everyone struggles with different things. And like, just because, I'm honest about it, because I could be like, lie about it and be like, yeah, I'm this and that. And, you know, just lead worship wherever I want. But it's like, I just want to be authentic and I want to be who I am and be able to reach those people. But, God said like, no, I want you to do something different. Because for so long, like, I want to be leading worship at church. God said, no, I don't need you at church. I need you to reach people who like really like are so thirsty for like just a soul connection, right? And just for somebody to care. And I feel like people in my community like need that. And because I know for a fact there's so many people who relate to me. They they are gay, but they want a relationship with God and they don't know how to like do both, or they don't know how to like they'll either completely reject God, or like on the other hand, like Christians will completely reject, it's like there's needs to be more compassion, there needs to be more understanding. And I just feel like that's more my purpose, is being able to have a specific message from my specific experiences to reach a very specific audience. It's not for everybody, but I know there are people like me. And I just think that that's really my soul driven purpose, for sure, is to say, you're not alone. I'm here. Anything that you've gone through, I've gone through it before. So yeah.
No, I love that so much. I think in my maybe in my newsletter community recently, when one of my last interviews came out with my friend Neil, and we were talking about God, and I shared how like the conversation about God for me has always been so interesting, and I've always wanted to talk with people about God, and but like I had no interest in going to church to talk about people, like talk about God with people. Like I would definitely be in the bars, smoking my cigarettes and taking my shots and like, so what do you think about God? Like that was, and to me, I feel like this is like your story is different and it's powerful in that difference. And whether someone is gay or not, or they identify, with the LGBTQ community or not, I think that it makes God so much more inclusive, which is what God wants, because God is love. And really like that just shows that like you don't have to be some like picture perfect, hand quotations, picture perfect, because
Right.
we know it's not the picture perfect person to know God or have a relationship with God. And that can look like so many different ways for so many different people. I love like just the mental image of you like being in this bar and like, and then like leading people in prayer. Like, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the world, like we need more of that, which is, again, like part of why I felt like your story was so powerful and I wanted to know more about it. Because we have these labels, we have these like ideas of how something should be. We've been told something should be one way for so long.
Right.
And our future, and I think our soul path for so many of us, especially in our age range, and younger, is to come in and bust those things up, and is to say like, no, you don't have to come to God in this way. You can come to God in this way and this way, and you don't have to be this person. And it's to get rid of those ideas of what having a relationship with God is like, and your story is so real. And because you have experienced so much pain on your path, like it gives you the ability to connect with people in a way that people who've spent their entire life in church and going to church
Yeah.
every Sunday, like they'll never be able to connect with that.
Right.
I just think it's very, very powerful. So I love hearing that.
Yeah. And I think like when people, because I love when I sing my songs, I think people, when they know like, oh, she's not perfect, like she's not the typical this or that, it gives people the freedom to join in and say like, I can, I can have a relationship with God. Like, I don't want to lead with this like, oh well, we're all like working towards this perfection. Like, we're all like, that's why, from a Christian perspective, like that's why Christ died for us, because like our righteousness is as filthy rags. Nothing anyone does could ever earn like salvation. And that's, the story of Christianity, which I know a lot of your listeners, you know, might not be a part of or agree with. But for me, it's like I accept that truth that, you know, I want to lead with imperfection. I want to lead with I know that I'm not perfect. I don't expect you to be. You are can come as you are, and I'm not going to put you in the back. I'm going to put you in the front, because what do you need right now? Like, what are you struggling with right now? If you need to cry, cry. Like, I want there to be powerful moments where, you know, we're not going to like ostracize people. We're going to say, you are welcome. And like, God loves you right now for however you are. So that's my message.
No, I'm beating that drum with you wholeheartedly. It always, I think the thing that breaks my heart the most is rejection.
For sure.
And, that's always, that's one of my big life themes that I am personally healing through. But anytime I see anyone feeling any kind of rejection, like I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly, like every inch of me wants to come out and just be like, no, you're beautiful, you're perfect, and I think that that is very much your message, and certainly your story, is being able to share that, because of course it's been so real for you,
Mhm.
and you don't fit within a box, and thank the Lord that you don't fit in within a box,
Yeah. Thank you,
if I could
God.
speak clearly.
Even like throughout the Bible, like the people that God really used were like the rejects, the people that like society rejected. And like those are the people, like, I don't know. I feel like God actually has a preference and a very special place in his heart for like the LGBT community. Like I really feel that. I feel like we have like a depth and a heart and a pain that he can use to like just really change the world, and show people how to love, right? Because they need people that they don't agree excuse me, they don't agree with, or like, oh, as long as I'm not like those people, the as long as I'm kind of doing what I need to do, I'm straight, I'm this, I'm that, as long as I'm not like them, I'm good, because I'm not going to go to hell because I'm not that. We are definitely, God's using that as a huge lesson for people. It's like, no, you got to learn to love people, and just accept people. And that's what Jesus did, like live like Jesus. Don't live like the church, live like Jesus.
Yeah,
um
100%. Yeah, you
I
can't go
never
wrong with
felt
Jesus.
yeah, I never felt rejected by God, Jesus. I have felt rejection from the church, and unfortunately, like the LGBTQ plus community is way more accepting and welcoming, than the church, and which is sad. And I want to just create a space where, they could feel welcome within this space of, you know, pursuing their relationship with God and trusting that God has a purpose for them, and they don't have to just like totally give it up because of this like well, you either have to be defined as this or defined as that on both sides. Like, no, you don't have to be defined as anything. You are who you are. You have a spirit, you have a soul, and God loves you. And just walk this journey, let him walk with you.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I mean, I think that one of the roles that the LGBTQ community are playing is that um, they're just coming out and showing us that like there's nothing wrong with difference. There's nothing wrong with, you know what I mean? Like they're bearing that brunt of stepping away from the crowd, that conformity, that like,
Mm-hmm.
you talk about the people that God used in the Bible being rejects. Well, there was nothing wrong with them except for the fact that they
Mm-hmm.
didn't conform to what everyone else was doing.
Right.
They were themselves, they were authentic, they were who they were. And I think like that is such a strong path to walk, regardless of whether you are within the LGBTQ community or not. It's a really hard path to walk,
Absolutely.
and I believe that is certainly our future in regards to it. It helps us to, I don't know. I mean, like, I always liken it to like going to a party, and there like might be this person there and they're on the dance floor and they're like getting down and like they're like terrible dancer, whatever, but they're having so much fun and they're so themselves. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I love this person. I don't even know them, but they make me feel more me,
Yeah.
and that is what people who are themselves are to the rest of the world. I think that even for the most part, people can have a lot of respect for difference if a person is truly authentically confident in who they are, without being some like in your face type of way, like,
Yeah.
out of
Right.
balance. But I
Right.
think that it gives us the inspiration to also be more of ourselves. And I think that that's huge. And I definitely think that that is part of the role that the LGBTQ community is playing.
Right.
When we can understand that like difference is beautiful and difference is what makes us beautiful,
Right.
then the compassion grows and we can love each other in more wholehearted ways. And yeah,
Right.
I'm so glad that you came and shared your story with us.
Absolutely.
So like as we're kind of winding down here, I would love for you to before we jump into the lightning round,
Mhm.
I'd love for you to share with us kind of, I know you like Deliverance is your newest album. Like, what are your plans? What are you doing? How can people hang out with you? Like all of the things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on just like writing new music. I'm in sort of like this weird, I think we talked about it a little bit, like transition period in my life where a lot of changes are happening. I'm definitely evolving. I'm learning and growing so much. There's a lot of change around me, and I'm really excited about it. Um, so I'm sort of like writing. I'm trying to plan some shows. I'm trying to like finally take all this stuff and kind of get out there more, right? And so I'm just really excited about it. And they can follow me, connect with me on social media. It's just my last name at Lanzaretta on all social media. Um, and just, I do have some new music coming out. I actually have a maybe song within the next few months, but I'm not sure. But I have some music on my Instagram that you guys can check out, music videos, everything, or just check out my website, laurenlanzaretta.com. I have vinyl records too with Deliverance. If you're interested in vinyl, you can order those on my website too.
Awesome. 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 All
Yeah.
right. Are you ready? Are you ready for the lightning round?
I hope I'm as ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
Okay. First question. What is the one habit that you can't live without?
Oh my God. I have it. I mean, I guess I'll say coffee.
Fair enough. Okay. Number two, what does spirituality mean for you?
Um, it's like my source of life, my source of light. Um, Connecting through music a lot is, my spirituality. um, evolving as a being. And even like what we've talked about today, like placing labels on things. I think spirituality sort of connects everyone, right? Because we're all spiritual beings and we all can look at each other at this like purity. Um, and that's what I'm trying to be. Like, I'm trying to just like dive into that spirituality and learn more about myself and evolve. And I'm constantly amazed at just, I don't know, the love that God has for me and the things that I can learn and grow and the person I'm becoming. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Number 3. What is your advice to anyone who's looking to find their purpose?
Looking to find their purpose. I think, you know, I do believe everyone has a purpose. I think my purpose came through my pain and what I've learned from from going through the hard things I went through. Every single person has a story. So I think that through your story and your personal experiences, every single person has a purpose through that, right? Because you can help someone else who's going through what you've gone through, or um, whatever it is. I mean, a lot of people volunteer at, different women's shelters, or like, you know, um, whatever it may be, right? And because they've maybe experienced those things and they can relate to those people. So I just think it's like really um, digging deep into who you are, finding out who you are. And like, you can't find out who you are till you really investigate your heartbreak and your pain and why it happened to you, what you learned from it, how you changed from it. Like we talked about a little bit before, it's really important to learn who you are and why you are the way you are, and then heal truly, start to heal and then help others with those things. So
Yeah, no, I love that. There's a really beautiful book that I read, written by a very, very powerful woman from Africa who like literally grew up in a village. I mean, just um, and ended up finding her way to America, going to school, having a PhD, like having, I think, like 4 or 5 kids in the midst of it. Like she was a single mom, like just amazing, mind-blowing story. But she also shared like you find your purpose through your pain. And I think that's really powerful. I think it's something that's very often overlooked, you know.
yeah.
Um, so I love that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, last question. So I know that there's a couple of different places where folks can meet you online, but where is your favorite, like, where is your favorite place for people, for you to connect with, for people to
um,
connect with you, if
yeah,
I can speak?
I mean, probably say like Instagram right now.
Okay.
um Facebook is kind of like a dinosaur of the social media world. I mean, feel free to add me on Facebook. I don't, whatever. And then I'm trying to like get into TikTok, but it is like it's kind of a challenge. I'm like, I can't be so in control of, like, I just have to like share. And I'm hoping to like share more like this, like just very authentic stuff, and be able to just like post more on there. But probably Instagram right now is probably the best. And feel free to like message me, ask me questions, start a conversation with me. Like, I'd love to help you, especially if you're watching this and it's something that you're going through. Like, I'd love to talk through some things with you. I know that, some people say like when they first meet me, I look really mean and they think I'm like a bitch, but I'm not. I promise you. It's just like, what do they call it? Like resting bitch face or whatever. Um, no, but I truly am like, I have a heart for people, and I would love to connect with whoever's willing for sure. So,
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. I'm also, it's funny when I started doing these interviews, And people used to tell me that a lot when I was younger. When I started doing these interviews for the podcast, and I would go back through and be editing, I was just like, my face looks like that. Like,
I know. Yeah. I'm like, ugh. I really
oh,
like make sure I talk to people because like I mean I always hear that like I thought you hated me. I thought, I'm like, this is just my face. I don't know. I can't walk around with
I just look
it.
a little bit more serious than I really
Yeah.
am. Okay. Yeah, I just got on TikTok too, and I'm really kind of confused. I'm just like, what are all these buttons? Wait, why are there so many filters? And
Yeah.
like, can I just have a normal one that just is a little like just a little smoothing action, not like
Yeah.
freckles and eyelashes, and like it's a lot. Um, Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lauren, for coming and sharing and just being open and transparent. I'm
Oh,
so thankful that your story is getting out. I'm so thankful that you are willing to share it. I'm so thankful
yeah.
for just you as a person and the work that you're doing. And yeah, I know that your music and who you are is just going to change lives.
Oh,
So I know I'm the
yeah.
first of many interviews for you for all
I
of this.
hope, and it really helped me to just talk through this with you. So I appreciate you, you know, following your gut, reaching out to me and allowing me to have the time to just like talk through some things. And I think that, I appreciate your audience too for like being patient and being open to like hearing because I know like, we're all in different but the same boats. Like we're learning, we're evolving. I definitely appreciate the differences in everyone's like, journeys and thought processes and so I just appreciate the openness and the willingness to listen. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, if you were inspired today, you know what to do. Leave us a review on iTunes, hit me up on social. Let me know what really stuck out with you about this interview. Be sure to sign up for the email list for podcast updates, helpful resources, things I don't share anywhere else. And don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next week.